Hi, I'm Louie. I have a brand called Context and I'm from Toronto. I thrift at Value Village, Vintage Depot, sometimes in Kensington Market, and then I thrift at some other vintage shops like Uncle Vintage on Bloor, and in Vintage We Trust is another one that I shop at. I go to Value Village for more of like a tailored aesthetic, so if I'm looking for like cropped pants that are kind of like oversized or like really old t-shirts that I want for cheap, I go to Value Village. If I want something that's like polo or something that's brand name, I'll go to Uncle Vintage or in Vintage We Trust. There they have those kind of items. Some of my favorite designer boutiques in Toronto would include Nomad, Haven, Soup on Dundas, Neighbor, Contraband, and yeah. I shop at Nomad for a darker aesthetic, so if I'm looking for something like Raf Simons or Demir Doma, I go to Nomad. If I go to Haven there, I could pick up like streetwear, so anything that's kind of hype. And I go to Soup for anything that's like kind of like editorial and for like androgynous kind of looks. I feel like I like to play different characters at the same time. So if I want something that is like super oversized on the bottom that can't really be found at either a thrift store or like a regular store in like the malls and stuff, I'll pair that with like a vintage tee to give like two different vibes. I'm also really inspired by just the aesthetic of how it was in like the 70s and 80s. So I try to take that and mix that with like modern fashion. Friends got me into thrifting. Yeah, it was actually a buddy of mine, his name's Julian. He and his brother kind of like brought me to that world. My first experience was at the Lansdowne Value Village, and there were so many clothes there. I was a little overwhelmed, but then over time you kind of like learn the patience and go through it and things like that, so yeah. Be you is what I would say, and don't put yourself in a box of, oh, this doesn't fit me right, or oh, this doesn't look good. If something is like way too big, there are ways to make it fit to you. As far as designer clothes go, like you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on designer clothes. There are always other ways to afford a really expensive coat or anything like that. For example, like I use Grailed a lot, and I always like shoot for really low prices. So I say like find like the best deals for designer clothes, and for thrift clothes, if something is there that you like, try to make it work. 3 examples of places I pull inspiration would be military wear from the 50s, runway shows. I get a lot of inspiration from there. And just people on the street, primarily women, just because like I'm into like the silhouettes that women get in their collections. Nowadays it's becoming more forgiving, and we're seeing that more in menswear, but I look into a lot of women's fashion as for inspiration. So my favorite piece that I have here would be these flared trousers that I got at Value Village. Only because it's something different from what I'm normally used to. I feel like cropped pants has been a huge trend for the past couple of years. So I felt like it was just kind of testing my masculinity and kind of embracing like my feminine side. My top 3 favorite fashion houses include Comme des Garçons, Yohji Yamamoto, something that isn't Japanese, Robert Geller. All right, so something that I'm currently saving up for are a pair of these Alix boots that have like a zipper at the front. They're just like, they're kind of like platformy, hiking-y. Yeah, something I really want in my closet. So these are a couple pieces from my brand. It's called Context. Context basically just comes from like the context of my personal life, and it could relate to you as well. Just basically like, well, this one in particular is based off of the way that I see color. So at first it starts in one place and then it transitions to another, the actual color. So this is one of my t-shirts and one of our tote bags too. Hi.
This guy's like touching you. He's just like his hand is like on your back.
Oh, it's like hello,
Hey, this is my friend.
my friend.